I'm Brittany Rizzo, and welcome back to My Only Friends. Today you will learn from Gill Hasson. Gill Hasson is a tutor, trainer, and writer. She has over 20 years experience teaching, coaching, and writing on anything and everything to do with personal development. She is an author of over 30 books on well-being, emotional intelligence, mindfulness, resilience, and more. Her most recent book is a 21-day abundance challenge. We got to discuss this book and the benefits of having an abundance mindset. This episode reminds me of the Friends episode, the one with Ross's wedding, part 1, mainly because the cast heads off to the UK where Gill resigns, but we also see how Ross switches from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, looking for all the possibilities to make the wedding beautiful. I highly encourage you to get Gill's new book, The 21-Day Abundance Challenge. I hope you enjoy my conversation with the lovely Gill Hasson. So you are in London?
I'm south of London, about 50 miles outside of London on the coast in a town called Brighton.
Oh, nice. And what time is it there?
It's now just after 7:30 in the evening.
Wow, it's so funny to me that I'm like, okay, well, what'd you do today? Maybe I can follow your footsteps.
Yeah, I went to visit my mum, and then I did what else did I do? And then my son and his wife and my two grandchildren came over. And then I did some work. Yeah. And then I made dinner, and now I'm here.
Wow. Well, that sounds like a really great day, a good Sunday.
Yeah. We're very fortunate. We've got amazing weather in the UK at the moment. So, I was sat out in the garden this afternoon, so that was lovely.
Oh, I'm jealous. It's like 100 degrees here in LA in October.
Oh my goodness. See, that's unseasonal as well. The same with us. It's not normal to get these sort of high temperatures here. But yeah, as we're all being told, it's global warming.
Yeah. Yes, it is. So I want to know, I have so many questions because you have so many books, and I'm reading your Abundance Day Challenge one right now. But first, tell me a bit about yourself and how you came to be an author and all these books got written.
Okay, so I started about 25 years ago working in what we call here community education. So that's it's not like the US community colleges. It's a different thing. Community education here is where education and learning for adults, not children, but adults, gets taken out to the community. So it might be in church halls, in pubs and bars, in people's local community. So the sort of courses that I was involved in and workshops was around confidence building, returning to work, child care and child development for, parenting courses. And then one of the courses I was involved in, I worked for the University of Sussex, and they used to run courses and workshops in areas of deprivation in the area that I live in. And something that interested myself and a co-worker was, why is it that for some people you can give them all the information, the ideas, the advice, the support, the encouragement, and they take off. And others just continually say, well, yeah, but I can't do that, because they always make excuses, and there's always barriers and problems and difficulties. So that's what we were interested in. And we were interested in the idea or the concept of resilience. So how people can, despite difficulties and problems that they might go through, how they can find their way through that and still come out the other side and bounce back and not be laid low. So this is what we were interested in. This is the sort of work we were doing. And then we realized, actually, with all the ideas and expertise we've got an idea for a book. So we approached a publisher with no idea about publishing. We just thought, we've got an idea. And we said, we work for this university, we run these courses, and we've got an idea on how to be more resilient. And to our surprise, they said, yeah, that's great, write it. So that was our first book. And then I went on with my co-worker, was called Sue. Sue and I wrote a couple of more books together. And then we started writing separately, not because there was a problem between us, but we just had different ideas about what we wanted to write about. So, yeah. And then I continued to write the books that I've written. And I think I've written for adults, personal development and business sort of development work, books for when you're 30 books now. And I've also written 8 books around social and emotional issues for children.
Wow. That is so amazing. I mean, just to name a few of your books, you have Mindfulness Pocketbook, Declutter Your Life, Mental Health and Wellbeing in the Workplace. Loneliness sounds like a one that I would like to read. The Self-Care Handbook, Moments of Comfort, and then your book now, the 21-Day Abundance Challenge that I've been reading. And it was interesting because my question was like, were you seeing a lot of this around you in your life, or were you experiencing these things as well to want to write a book about it?
Yeah. So partly I've written about subjects and issues that I already was teaching, so I had a lot of experience and understanding from the people that came on the courses and classes and workshops that I was involved in. So anything to do with career development, building your confidence, positive thinking, those sort of areas were I was already teaching those sort of classes. And then other books came out of either my ideas, like mindfulness. I just thought with my publisher, I said, you haven't got a book on mindfulness. It's something I know a little bit about, but that I'm interested in. And so they said, yeah, great, definitely write a book on mindfulness. So it was something that I found out a lot about as I researched it and talked to other people. And I learned a lot about mindfulness. Even abundance, my most recent book was something that was one that my editor asked me, would you write about abundance? And I said, well, I don't know a huge amount about it, but what I really enjoy is finding out. So I take, I suppose, almost a journalistic approach. I'm interested in finding out about things. And then my key sort of aim is to learn about a subject and then write about it in a way that I hope makes it easy for other people to understand.
And what I love about this book, the Abundance Day Challenge, is like how many exercises you have in it, and that it's a day by day thing. Because I'm the type of person where sometimes these books will give me anxiety because I feel like, oh my God, I have to start doing this right now. And like, oh, there's so much. And like, then I start beating myself up. Like, no, that's not an abundant way of thinking. And like, I'm like, what I like about this is that it's day by day. You do the exercise. And like, if you miss a day, that's fine. But it's definitely, it's been nice to read something like that and not feel like, oh, I got to read the first 5 chapters. Like, I am just not that type of student. I learn by doing or by seeing. So that's why I think this book is really amazing.
And that's the type of person I am as well, Brittany. So I'm writing for people like you and myself, people that don't want any pressure, just want to have, some insights, some understanding and some ideas and suggestions in how we can put these things into practice. So that's my aim.
Yes. So explain to me what the reticular activating system is, because that is what you speak about a lot in this 21-day abundance.
Yeah. Okay. So we've all got something in our brain called the reticular activating system. And why we have that and what that means is because, of course, we have a huge amount of information coming into our heads, into our minds, into what we see, what we do. It's coming in all the time. We have to make decisions all the time, what to have for breakfast, what not to have for breakfast, what time to leave the house, who to see, who to talk to, who to text, the work we've got to do. It's continual decisions. So there's a lot going on for us. And our brain has to have some way of sorting all this out. So it has something called the reticular activating system, which is a way of filtering out what we do and what we don't need to know, what's most important to us. So if, for example, I've explained this in the book, if you were to go into a car parking lot, you would be looking for a space to park your car. Mm-hmm. And so your brain and your eyes would just be looking for spaces. That's all it would be looking for. Great. You find a space, you park your car, you go off and do whatever it is you have to do. Then when you come back, you're looking for your car. And let's say your car is red. Then what your reticular activating system does is it filters out everything else. It's no longer looking for car parking spaces. You don't even see the spaces, because what your brain does for you is it just focuses on looking for red cars. So it's something we've all experienced. Whenever we're looking for something specific, it filters out our brain, our reticular activating system filters out everything else so that we can just focus on what it is that's most important to us there and then.
So explain to people why that is important to know when having an abundant mindset versus a scarcity mindset.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, the abundance mindset and the scarcity mindset. So a scarcity mindset sees that in any one situation, there's only one way of doing something, one way of achieving something, one way of getting something, that resources are limited, that if somebody else has got it, for example, then you don't get to have it, because everything's so limited, narrow and focused. And that's a scarcity mindset. Mm-hmm. Whereas an abundance mindset recognizes that there's always, in any one situation, possibilities and options and choices. An abundance mindset recognizes that in any one situation that actually there's choices, there's options, and there's possibilities. And so what an abundance mindset does is it decides on something that it wants. So you might, for example, let's say you wanted to take a trip to the country of Italy. Mm-hmm. It's something you really want to do, and you're hoping to do that next year. So a scarcity mindset would say, well, there's only one way of doing it. I have to have this much money to get there, and I can only do it at this particular time. Whereas an abundance mindset, for a start, would say, okay, it appears that there's only one way that I can do this. But actually, let me look at my options. Maybe I could do a working holiday. Maybe I could take time off in the Christmas holidays to go there. It's not something that I would have thought to do. I would have wanted to go in the summer, but maybe that there's options there. Maybe I can go with a friend. You'd look at all your options. You wouldn't just say, well, there's only one way of going. Mm-hmm. And then, and this is where the reticular activating system comes in and relates to the abundance mindset, because you have something specific that you want, the reticular activating system will alert you, if you're open to it, to all sorts of possibilities. So you might overhear somebody talking in a restaurant about Italy. You might see a program on the TV about Italy. So all of a sudden, everything seems to be jumping out at you that's all to do with Italy. Mm-hmm. And it's because you've put yourself open to it. If you had a scarcity mindset, you'd think, oh, yeah, they're talking about Italy, trips to Italy. Well, there's only one way I can do that. And it's just not for me. I don't have the money, or I don't have the opportunity. Mm-hmm. Whereas an abundance mindset actually allows their reticular activating system to work for them and leaves themselves open to all sorts of possibilities.
Right. Yeah, it's like that quote, what you focus on expands. So if you focus
Yeah,
on all the possibilities, you're going to see a lot of possibilities. If you focus on all the things that could go wrong, you're going to see all the things that could go wrong.
exactly. And that very much relates to positive and negative thinking as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's, there are negative possibilities, but there's positive possibilities. The idea is that you acknowledge what the difficulties and problems and challenges might be, but you're solution focused. You look for, okay, but so how can I get around that? What's open to me?
Right, right. And that's kind of like what you talk about in the book of the simple awareness of, in what way is this thought limiting me? And I liked that a lot, because it definitely made me start to be a watcher of my thoughts and just go, okay, is that thought true? Is that thought going to help me? Or is that thought going to set me up for a not great day? And like the first thought, I'm not responsible for, right? But the second thought, I am. So I could either let this thought that's not serving me take on my entire energy for the day, or I can go, you know what? I'm going to analyze this thought. Is it true? Is it going to help me? Probably not. So just move on from it.
Yeah, we make it's very easy to make assumptions. We often think we know something to be true. I was talking with a friend recently about the possibility of her moving out of her apartment, which is really quite small, and she's been there many years. And her partner has MS, has multiple sclerosis, and she's not going to really improve in that situation. And when I asked my friend, so what are you going to do about moving, because your apartment has lots of stairs? And she said, well, it's just not going to be possible. I mean, it's impossible to buy somewhere that we could afford in Brighton, in the town that we both live in. And I said, well, how do you know that? And she said, well, we've all heard about how much prices are going up. And I said, yeah, but what sort of apartment are you looking for? She lives in a converted Victorian house. And I said, if you have what we call a purpose-built apartment, so these are blocks, like condominiums, did you know they're not so expensive? And she said, no, really? I said, yeah, one of my sons has got one. Let me send you the details. And she just already decided what she believed to be true. She'd got this scarcity mindset. She'd closed down her options without actually, as you say, Brittany, challenging herself and going, do I really know this to be true? Where's my evidence? How do I know this? Who have I talked to? What have I looked up? So, she limited herself with her mindset.
Yeah. And I even wrote that down, that our assumptions are based on outdated information and misinformation. And I was like, oh, that's so true. And that could go for anything, whether it's something you've heard about a person, about a job, about a certain career you want to go for, starting a podcast, writing a book. Like, these are all things that we're like, oh, but I heard so-and-so did it and it was just so hard and I don't want to do that. Well, learn for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, be kind of solutions based. And
talk to people who have done it. Okay, some people didn't manage it, couldn't do it, but whatever it is you want, there's probably someone out, someone out there already who's got it or done it or been there. So seek those people out and get inspired by them.
Right. So say someone is on the verge of having an abundance mindset, but there's still like a subconscious block. What are the simple steps that they can take to step into an abundance mindset fully?
Yeah, so that's a good thought, actually, a good question. So just choose something that you would like to have, not something huge, not like, I'd like to move to the other side of the world, or I'd like to marry a rock star, or, keep it real, have something realistic that you'd like to do. So maybe it's take a trip somewhere. Maybe it's to go and see a show or something that you'd like, or take a class to learn something new. That would be a excuse me, a good one, learning something new, a new skill that could help you in your work, or just something that you're interested in. And just make a point. See yourself as a sort of a researcher, someone because that's exactly what you're going to do. Whatever it is that you want to do, make a decision that you're going to find out as much as possible about how you could do that. So find out about the different costs, how much it would cost, whether there's a way of doing it that doesn't cost much. Find out about people who have done it before. Ask to talk to them or read about them. Google's fantastic. We all know that. You can Google anything that you want to know. And the thing is, once you start doing this, you're already engaging with an abundance mindset, because the mere fact that you're starting to find things out and ask questions and be interested in whatever it is that you want to do. We've all experienced this before. You tell someone else that you're interested in this and they say, oh, I know someone who's done that, or I know where you can go for that, or I have a cousin that did that and would know a lot about that. So you just have to start asking and start finding out, and it's a sort of snowball effect. Once you do that, everything becomes more abundant, and your reticular activating system, if you allow it, will allow you to be open to information and ideas and possibilities that are coming in.
And it's kind of like, the foundation to have an abundance mindset is to know that you already are in abundance.
Yes. Yeah. With so much. So I was only having this conversation with a neighbour yesterday about her granddaughter. And my neighbour was telling me how she was concerned for her granddaughter because she had a few difficulties. She'd had a difficult background. And we discussed that. And I said that it's, not to deny the problems that her granddaughter has had, acknowledge those, but rather than dwell on them, look at what her granddaughter has got, the advantages, the benefits, the skills, the abilities that she has got, and that's what's to focus on. We've all got plenty in our lives. We actually really do. We have. You could actually do that. You could start to write a list of all the things that you actually have plenty of. And once you start doing that, it's like anything, when you make a shopping list, you think, right, I need some rice and I must get some pasta and I need some tomatoes. Once you start writing those things down, you think, oh yes, and I need to get some mushrooms. Oh, and I've just realized that I need to get some soda, and so when you start to make a list of the things that you already have in abundance in your life, that you have plenty of, you'll find it triggers off more ideas. So you could sit down for 5 minutes and just empty your mind of all the things you've got in abundance, and then decide that you're going to return to that every time you think of something else that you have plenty of.
Right.
So today I could even just say I've had an abundance of sunshine. We've had an amazing day here in the UK. Just you have to be creative in your thinking, but it's quite something when you realize just how much you do have.
And, learning how to be grateful, I would say, saved my life. Like during a really dark time, it got so I literally would take a bite of my food and I would have to say to myself, I'm grateful for my hands. I'm grateful that I could lift this spoon to my mouth. I had to be grateful for every single little thing in order to keep reminding myself of my worthiness of life, and that, life is really amazing. My life is amazing. And it's not the thoughts in my head. And I want to ask you, like, when it comes to people with anxiety and depression and like mental illness, it's a little bit harder to stay on that mindset. It's a little bit harder to be the watcher of your thoughts when you feel like you're not in control of them. So what would you say to somebody who is in that type of mind space, dealing with depression and anxiety, but really trying to have an abundant mindset?
Yeah, so I would say that this is where, for me, the concept of mindfulness comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So everything in mindfulness, it's recognized that everything is transitory, nothing is permanent.
Mm-hmm.
So however much you're struggling now, however difficult things are, things can and will change if you're open to it, and if you really want to try to move on and be better. So it's being open to the support and help that's given to you. It's recognizing that even when you do have good days or you start to feel better, then there's also going to be down days still.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. That too will pass. But it's being open to what's good and what's positive, recognizing what works for you, what helps you to feel good and to feel better. And when you're not feeling great, that's okay. That's all right. It will pass. Don't make things worse by beating yourself up about it, but keep yourself open to anything that helps you to feel well and to feel good. Be open to any sort of support, any sort of enjoyable things that you can access.
Yeah. And celebrating those small victories and celebrating yourself for doing those little things that are actually big things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If it means, getting out of bed that day is a, something that is a big deal for you, then that's great. We've all got our own lives and our own difficulties and our own things that work for us, and that's what's important. You can, again, write it down. Keep a journal of the things that help you to feel better, to help you feel good. Be kind to yourself as well when you're feeling pretty low and rough. That's okay. It's fine. That will pass as well. Just keep moving forward. One day at a time. Whatever's happened in the past that was difficult, that's gone. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. All you've got is right now. So when you're feeling great, fantastic. When you're not feeling so good, that's okay. It doesn't feel great, but it will pass.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, thank you. So I wanted to also talk to you. I wrote this down. I can't remember what day it was in the challenge, but aligning with your values and reminding yourself of who you are. And I really thought that was so beneficial, because I think we often will make choices based off of what we think we should do or what just seems to be the right thing at the time.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, that's more of a scarcity mindset, where with an abundance mindset, you want to go, well, does this align with my values? Does this align with who I am? And we don't often take time to think about those things because we're in such like a hustle, especially out in LA. We're out in like such a hustle and bustle town. And, I'm an actor. All my friends are actors. And we will say yes to every audition or yes to, and then I'll look and I'm like, but this isn't what I would want to do necessarily, but we take it anyway because we think, oh, this might be our only chance. And so talk to me about how the importance of knowing your values are.
Yeah. Okay. So it's whenever I've done any work with people around values, it's very rare that anyone will say, oh, I know about this. I've done all this. And we talk about our values, about being true to ourselves without often clearly understanding what that means. And it's quite simply, your values are, if something has value, then it has importance and it has worth. So our personal values are the things, the ways of behaving, the way of interacting with the world and with other people, the way of relating to ourselves that is important and has some value and worth to us. And the simple thing you can do is just Google a list of values, put into Google list of values, and up will come things like patience, diligence, creativity, hardworking. What else? There'll be a whole lot of you can probably, you'll find a list with probably maybe 80 to 100 words. And what you then do is go through them all and tick anything that's important to you. So it might be being compassionate. You might think, yep, that's important to me. Being altruistic, yep, it's fine. Don't think too hard about it. Just tick anything that's important. But then, of all the ones you've ticked, you then narrow it down to about 5 or 6 values that are really important to you. That if you had to throw out all the others, which are the ones that would remain? And you get left with your what we call core values. This is a way of behaving, interacting with others, and relating to yourself that's most important. So if then those values then inform us. So for me, let's say a couple of my values are truth and honesty and fairness and equality. So if I was put in a situation, or I was invited into a situation where I had to be untrue, where I felt that other people and myself weren't going to be equal, where I felt I had to be dishonest, or what was happening was dishonest, I'd feel uncomfortable. This is where our intuition comes in. We know really when things aren't right for us, but we tend to, as you said, with the acting jobs, think, oh yeah, but I have to say yes to everything. Anything could be a possibility. I've got to do that. But actually, if there's something about it that you think, oh, this just doesn't ring right with me, then go back to your values. See what they are and think, so yeah, so for me, I think, is this honest? Is this true? Is there an aspect of this where anyone's going to be unequal, or there's going to be any unfairness? And if I think, yeah, actually, I can see, yep, then I know that it doesn't align with my values and it's not right for me. It's not always easy to walk away from those sort of situations, but it means that you leave yourself open to more to the situations. You're clearer about the situations that are right for you, and you're more open and more able to grab those ones when they come along.
Right. And I also think too, like, I'm really big on, like, once you show the universe what you're willing to put up with, that's what you'll keep attracting, is just things you'll put up with. Where, like, whenever I've stuck up for myself or been, firm with a boundary, I feel like I get rewarded. Like something better comes along, or I see how the project turned out and I'm like, I am so happy I did not take that. Like, so I definitely, it's what you focus on expands. And I really love too how in the book you talk about the importance of, like, breaking down a list, like if, you're overwhelmed or anything, and, like, breaking down all the steps that you have to take to get to the mountaintop, and how to stay motivated. And so I feel like I have, myself sometimes included, I will know exactly what I need to do to make a change. I'll know exactly how I'm my thoughts, I hear my thoughts, and they are, and I go back and forth between, should I feel this and let it run through me? But then I'm like, I don't want to lean into the negative thoughts. I don't want to lean into all these thoughts. Or should I, bombard them with positive thinking? And it's about, like, finding that balance. And there's so many times where I just lack the motivation. Like, I know exactly what I need to do. And I have a handful of friends that are like this as well, who are big procrastinators, or they're like, I know exactly what I need to do to feel better. I just can't bring myself to do it.
So how do you get motivated? I imagine
Yes.
So motivation comes from actually seeing the benefits and the rewards from doing something. And so that's what you've got to remind yourself is, okay, so actually, in any case, why did I think doing this was going to be a good idea? So what is it that I'm going to get out of that? So you have to keep reminding yourself of that. So, of course, we all know that if we didn't want to take our driving lessons, if we ever felt that, oh, I really can't be bothered today, the guy's coming round and I've paid for this lesson, but I just can't I'm not up to it. Well, we know what motivates us to continue that is the idea that, wow, I'll get my driving license, I'll be able to have a car, I'll be able to go places. So, that was always quite an easy one. It wasn't too difficult to get motivated to continue with our learning to drive. So it's knowing what the benefits are, keeping those in mind, even maybe writing them up and sticking them on a wall or having them as a screensaver. But the other thing is, you've just got to suck it up. There's no other way around it.
Yeah.
It's tough. There's times when, I've written a lot of books and I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with my laptop and thought, oh, I really cannot be bothered to do this. Oh, I've got to read what I wrote yesterday. I've got to go back through it, think about what I want to change. What do I want to do? And what I do that I found helps me is I have this sort of approach that's called act as if. So I approach something as if I'm only going to spend 10 minutes on it. So I say to myself, you're just going to spend a short time. It's fine. You don't have to spend all day on this. Just, make a start. Take the first step and just do a little bit towards this. And of course, what happens is that once I do that, I get into the right mindset. So if you wait for the right positive mindset to do something before you do it, you'll never do anything. So you just have to trust and know that you're just going to have to get up, move your ass and get going. And it's more than likely, it's with the snowball, once you start pushing a snowball downhill, it gathers speed and it becomes bigger and bigger and the force is intense. So yeah, that's the only way around it is, I certainly don't sit in front of my laptop each day and go, yay, I'm going to write some more. I'm so excited, most of the time it's a real effort, but I have to remind myself, I'll have a book at the end of it. I'm going to get paid at the end of it.
Yeah.
Good things will come out of this. So I remind myself of the positives and I tell myself to just get on with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to say that this book has definitely come into my life at a perfect time because I have to have surgery on my ankle. And I've been putting it off for so long. And now my doctor's appointment is next week. And I am thinking, of course, of everything. I'm like, oh my God, I have to be off my foot for this long. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm like, and it's going into all the scarcity mindset thoughts. And so, when it said make a list, I sat down here and I made a list of like, how can I set myself up for success? I just want to do this. And it's not going to be, it's not going to be like, it's not going to feel great. It's not going to be super fun, but it's not going to be the end of the world. And like, kind of like you said, like asking other people and doing research. Like I found somebody else who went to this doctor and she sent me all of her lists that helped her prepare for her surgery. And it's like, once you lean into those things, nothing seems scary. And then you realize, okay, like also I've been in hard situations before and I got out of them. There's no reason why I can't get out of this one. Or, when it comes to my career of acting, it's like, I've done some really amazing things. And just because I didn't get this one thing, or I'm so stressed about getting this audition or this part, it's like, well, I've booked an audition before. I've been on this before. I can do it again. Like taking the boogeyman out of it, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You've got to be open to the possibilities, and be persistent. And then in relation to the operation on your foot, having surgery, again, it will you'll have the operation, you will recover. It will, 5 years from now, it'll be something that you just mentioned to other people. Oh yeah, I had this surgery on my foot. Yeah, that, it was fine, and it would just be one small thing that happened in your life.
Right. And so there's a couple things. We only have a little bit of time left, so I have a couple more questions. I'm not finished with this book yet, so I'm trying to jump ahead to see.
Yeah.
Talk about, one, I just really want to talk about the importance of kindness, because you have a whole chapter on it of being kind.
Yeah, well, kindness, I've actually written a whole book on kindness. I think it's life changing for us when we're kind to other people, and when other people are kind to us. Kindness is just there's kindness and there's compassion, and both come out of a recognition that we are, I'll say we're all human, but of course you could be kind to animals as well. But it's a recognition that we have a commonality. We have something in common. We're all here on earth. It's not always easy. And often we're in a position to do something. It can be very small or it can be very big, to do something for other people that makes a positive difference. And it can make somebody's day. Some kind words. We all know when someone says something kind and encouraging or supportive to us, or they've said something nice about the way we look or what we're wearing. It just changes the dynamic. It's really good for our spirit. So it's not a case of being a people pleaser and constantly looking for ways that you can please and reach out and be lovely to other people. But it's just having an awareness. Again, it's an awareness of the abundant possibilities we have to make a positive impact on other people's lives in just small ways. And be aware of when other people not only do that to us, but when other people, you witness kindness. If you see kindness in other people, be aware of that, acknowledge that, register it. And it just makes for a much better world. We all have those possibilities. And, we're constantly hearing bad news on the TV and the radio. Today, there's been a situation in Israel and Palestine, which is mind-blowing, and people are suffering just as they are in Ukraine and in all sorts of difficult situations in the world. We can't do anything about that. There's nothing we can do about that. But what we can do is to help try to counter that by the small kindnesses we can do for our friends, our family, our community, and strangers, people we don't know, we meet in the street. So I think, it's very important. It's something that we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't even tell you how many times I was having a bad day or in my own thoughts of just, spiraling, and somebody did something really nice for me that snapped me right out of it. And it's that's a gift to be that to somebody else, for sure.
Yeah. And actually also, when we're having a bad time, it can help bring us out of it by actually thinking, do you know what? I'm going to stop focusing on me. What can I do for someone else? Sometimes that can help to change our mindset and bring us out of it by thinking, I'm going to stop wallowing in it for myself. I'm going to think, what can I do for someone else?
Right. And, then another thing is being with positive people. And I talk about this a lot. I believe in so much being around people who you want to be like, and people who see the best in situations. I think I went through a lot of my 20s with a misery loves company type friendship. And, and as I've gotten older, I'm look, I can be there for somebody if they're going through a really hard time, but it's, if their boat's sinking, then I want to lift their boat up. I don't want to drown in it. And it's hard. It's hard as you get older to decipher those friendships. But I realize like the people who I am closest with and my friends are all people who tune into the possibilities of things, the happiness of things, not the, oh, but I don't have this. And what if this happens and I can't do this? Yeah. It's so unattractive as I get older to hear that from people. Like you just want to be around things like life is way too short to be. And again, like there's so many things happening in the world, like to complain or have that scarcity mindset. It's like, it's just a waste of time.
It really is. It's not good for your spirit to be around negative people too much. As you say, you know, people, of course, we all experience difficulties and it's great to have friends that can support us and help us. But we all have to move on from the difficulties that we're experiencing. And when you have friends or co-workers or family that just constantly negative criticizing, complaining, seeing the difficulties, that scarcity mindset, saying, well, there's only one way of doing things. I can't do this because of that. It's not good for our spirit or ourselves. And sometimes it's not so easy to move yourself away from them if they're your co-workers or it's a family member. But what you can do is redress the balance by being very aware of who the positive people are in your life. So I often refer to them as drains and radiators. The drains suck the life out of you, and the radiators, they emanate warmth. And just like on a cold day when you come in the room and the radiator's on, you go over to the radiator and make yourself warm next to the radiator. That's what we want, is people that you're attracted to, who are supportive, encouraging. They don't have to be one person, doesn't have to be all these things, but someone who's supportive, someone who's encouraging, someone who's fun to be around. Different people and that I'm not suggesting at all that we use other people, right? Well, she's my fun friend, he'll be my encouraging friend. It's not taking an approach, but it is just recognizing the worth of other people and how much what a positive difference they can make to you. And in turn, therefore, when you're around positive people, you become positive yourself and you give back positively as well.
And it's like, you know, I think when you lead by example and you give people the permission to also start doing those things, some people feel very vulnerable or they don't feel like they can change. Or, you know, if you change your mindset, that requires changing a lot in your life because you have to start doing things differently. So I think that people are scared of that. And when they see you do it, then they'll be like, oh, okay, well, I see how amazing things are going for so-and-so. So now I want to try this as well. It's inspiring. And, you know, like you said, everybody goes through a hard time. We all have those. But when it's a day-to-day thing of just like nothing could go right for this person, that's when, you know, you really have to. I look at, you know, one of my therapists had said to me, like, life is like a radio station. You could tune the dial in to the really sad songs, or you could tune the dial into the really happy songs. And that's how you have to look at like your day to day. Like, where do I want to tune the dial in today?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not that we pretend that bad stuff doesn't, you know, that it doesn't happen. We acknowledge that, but we look for solutions and we look for the positive. You're looking for the light. You're looking forward rather than looking backwards into the darkness and things that actually there's nothing we can do about. So that's a great analogy. Tuning into the positive. You know, the happy songs and the supportive, encouraging ones. That's what.
Now, on day 20 of your Abundance Day Challenge, having patience in the unfolding of events.
So
that is something that I and a lot of people I know have a very hard time with, because it's like, okay, we're doing the work, and we're so caught up in the outcome and how is it going to happen? And anytime I sit back and go, you know what, my job is to have fun. My job is to be kind. My job is to be nice to people. My job is to do the best that I possibly can. Anytime I let go and do that, all these amazing things start happening that I was not even expecting. But the second I'm like, where is it? Oh my God, this client canceled. And oh, I didn't get an audition this week. And oh, my podcast guy's canceled. And then I literally am like spiraling. And then I just attract more of the same. So having patience, it's like, I know that I need to have patience. I know that I need to do these things, but I cannot. Like, once I grasp onto that desperation swing, it's like, oh, there goes Brittany.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Some things that I write about, I'm writing for myself because I am so like that.
Yeah.
I once I'm on a roll, I want things to happen fast, and I want to make them happen, and I get frustrated with anything that gets in the way.
Yep.
But it's just giving it a try, just recognizing that sometimes just step back and give things a little bit of space. It doesn't have to be forever, but just, longer than you would normally, and say, okay, do you know what? I'm just going to wait to see what happens. It relates to a concept that I talk about in the book, a Chinese concept called Wu Wei. And what Wu Wei means, it's pronounced W-U and then another capital W-E-I, is this patience in the unfolding of events. So, and I describe it in the same way as when you plant a daffodil bulb or a tulip bulb, you can't really make that happen. It has its own time and process. You plant it in the winter and it stays in the ground, and you think nothing's going to happen. Where is it? What's going on? And then in January, you see a little green shoot come out. And then February, you think, well, it hasn't done much so far. But by the spring, out comes these beautiful flowers. It has its own time for doing things. And sometimes we have to, recognize that that's what's going on in our own lives. Sometimes, the right audition doesn't come along, the right place to live, the right partner, the right, a whole range of things, the right outfit to wear to this special event. Sometimes just have to take a breath, step back, because also all the time we're rushing through. We don't give our brains, our minds, a chance to see what possibilities there are out there. So step back. It relates to abundance in recognizing there are other possibilities, there are other options. It doesn't just have to be this one way. Stop rushing it, stop forcing it to happen. Step back and see what's possible, and just have a bit of patience, give it some space.
Absolutely. It's spot on. And it's literally, it's such a good reminder. And I think too, we get so caught up in, oh my God, what's it going to be like in the future? And this is going to happen. And then we forget that, like, what about right now? This is a great moment. Yeah. This is a great moment. Like, I will sit here and I'll be like, oh, I have to do this and this is going to happen. And I'm like, I'm sitting in my apartment doing things that I wished I did a year ago. Like, I would pray for these moments a year ago of being healthy and happy and living alone and working on things that really make me happy, or having clients in my business that really make me happy. And instead, like, I'm always looking for the next hit of something instead of being like, wow, this is really amazing. And like, why don't I just enjoy this for what it is, and more of this will come.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great approach. Yeah, being more aware of, if you're waiting for something, that's fine, but don't try and push it. In the meantime, see what's possible and what's available right now. Yeah.
Well, Gill, tell people your book that you can get and where they can get it. And I mean, yes, I want to know, did you take this Abundance Day challenge? Did you do it along with writing it?
Yeah. As I was redrafting the book, and going through each day, and I was making it, okay, this is what I want to say in this day. Yeah, I've definitely done it. And actually what I discovered was I already had an abundance mindset. It wasn't something I was so aware of myself, but I've realized that anything pretty much anything I've ever wanted to do in life. I don't find it difficult to identify things to do. I've always had goals and aims. I'm not hugely ambitious, but there's always been somewhere I want to live, somewhere I want to go, something I want to do. And I've realized that each time I've looked at what the possibilities and options were, it's very rare that it sounds incredibly arrogant, but I've pretty much had and got everything I've ever wanted in life, because I haven't had ridiculous wants, but I've had reasonable wants, and I've thought, and what are my options? What are my possibilities? What are the different ways I can do that? And I think that's possibly come from my upbringing, particularly from my dad. He was someone who was always looking at the different ways. You know, when I was young, in my family, my dad couldn't afford a car. So he got the oldest one he possibly could, and then learn how to fix an old car up. And that was the only way that he could. So he's always, you know, I grew up with someone who always looked at what are the different ways I can do this? What, you know, and so I think that's what I've done. So yeah, writing the book, each day, a lot of what I was writing about, I realized, wow, I already do this. So yeah.
You know, I do want to say before you go to, when you talk about the importance of visualization and how it's creating new pathways in your brain, I've got to say that, like, I think that's what helps me also hold on to like my childlike imagination, because when I was little, I would dream every single day that I would sing with Justin Timberlake. It was all I thought about. Truly all I thought about. All I thought about. I was washing my hair in the shower. I'd be like, oh, and we're going to sing this song. Like, I swear to God, it's all I ever thought about since I was 7 years old. And cut to being 22, and I booked a commercial and I sang with Justin Timberlake.
Fantastic.
And I'll never forget my mom. We were at the mall because I was trying to find something to wear for his like album release party. My mom was like, did you ever think you would be singing with Justin Timberlake? I said, yeah, every day of my life. That's how this happened. Right. So I do really love like the power of visualizing something and how you want things to turn out, but also feeling how it's going to feel when you do get that in that way. You know, I believe in a lot of manifesting, and I think manifesting and abundance go hand in hand. But I just had to say like how much I love that. I'm like, oh yeah, of course visualizing helps all of this. And it goes back to what you said about reminding yourself of how it's worked out before and how you've gotten through things before. And when I do have those really low days or days where I feel like I haven't done anything of importance, like what am I doing anymore? I remind myself like, no, you actually did something really incredible, and you've done multiple things that are really incredible. Like, don't lose sight of those. And those were big dreams that you accomplished. So like, you can do it again. That wasn't going to be the last time, you know? So I think this book is great. I mean, I can't recommend it enough to people.
Well, that's good. That's great, Brittany. Yeah. So 21-day abundance challenge, and the word challenge, it's not because it's challenging and so difficult, but it's just the, you know, being able to do it for 21 days. And as you said right at the beginning, you know, you don't have to do 21 days consecutively, one day after another. You might do one day a week. You might take 21 weeks over this. It's whatever works for you. But yeah, there's plenty of ideas and techniques and strategies and things to try out that can really help you to build an abundance mindset, a positive mindset that will help you get a lot more of what it is that you want in life.
Yes, I love it so much. And I'm going to do the 21-day mindfulness challenge, because that's the thing. Like, you know, you don't just do it and then boom, you're done. It's a practice. These things are a practice. These things are things you have to commit to. And I think once you start, it's impossible to stop, because you become very aware of your brain and your thought patterns and what serves you and what doesn't. And I think that scares people, because again, it forces them to change, and change can be scary. But it's like, oh, things could be really amazing if I continued down this journey and like of self-awareness and discovery. So again, I love this book and I am very excited to read more from you. So thank you so much for your time. And this was so much fun. This is a great conversation. And I'm glad you had an amazing day. Hopefully the rest of mine, I will say the rest of mine is going to be amazing.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
As you get ready for bed.
Yes, that's right. Thanks, Brittany. Lovely talking with you.
It was so nice talking with you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye for now. Bye.